I think we can all agree on the feeling we had after watching this week's release. Episode 8 of Jujutsu Kaisen Season 3 that it honestly didn't feel like we were watching the usual JJK we are familiar with. The episode spent the majority of its runtime introducing Higuruma in a completely different way. I mean, if you show this episode to some random fan, they would probably tell you it was from a totally different anime. And as always, the animation absolutely delivered. I'm not just talking about the character designs or the art style itself, but the direction, the overall vibe, and the fluidity of the movements. It had that distinct top tier quality we have come to expect from the series. And for me, it's these tiny details that truly elevate the entire reviewing experience to a whole new level. From the incredibly smooth way Higuruma walks, the way he casually spins the chair, or even that shot of the bird right in the middle of the dialogue that might seem like an insignificant detail, but it's actually the exact opposite. And I keep bringing up Higuruma because, well, 80% of this episode was dedicated to introducing his character, and the animators knew exactly what they were doing because they took what could have been a completely ordinary scene and turned it into something you actually stop to appreciate. So, hats off to them. But moving on from that, the episode kicks off right away with the fact that 99% of the criminal trials in Japan end in a conviction. Then we cut straight to a random guy talking to Higuruma. We know the details of what he allegedly did, but whether he's actually guilty or innocent, the anime leaves that completely unknown. Higuruma is then introduced as a lawyer with a real sense of justice, the kind of guy who picks up civil cases that are hard, not rewarding, and also kind of hopeless, and still can't bring himself to walk away from someone who obviously needs help, which immediately tells you that his backstory is the kind of classic tale of someone who started out genuinely wanting to do the right thing and just snapped because of how ugly and unfair people and system can be. So after doing his best to achieve justice, those in power still decide that his client was guilty. And this is presented as pretty much the breaking point where he needs to serve justice himself instead. In this scene, we see him repeatedly slams the gavel on the table over and over and over again, announcing that the trial began. And we get this cool animation of his shigami and his technique that I absolutely loved, which was also somewhat different from the manga. From there, we transition again to another flashback, this time to Yuji and that blonde guy, whatever his name was. Here, the animators bless us with another brilliant, masterfully animated sequence. I mean, just look at how Yuji moves, how he dodges those strikes, and that kick. It's absolute cinema. After all that, we are roughly at the halfway mark of the episode. And then we jump right back to where the last episode ended. We see Megumi and Yuji heading towards Higuruma, and also we get the official introduction of Regista, who's going to be facing off against Megumi. Reggie starts dropping some wild theories, claiming that Kinjaku's real goal isn't just fights and curse energy accumulated from that in order to move the people of Japan to the other side. Instead, he thinks that it's a giant purge to kill off all the weak sorcerers, leaving only the strongest, before dropping some sort of a bomb to wipe everyone out and end it all. Well, we know it's bullshit, but okay, whatever. So while he's monologuing, we get a shot of Kinjaku in a meeting with some people inside what looks like a conference room, and we don't have the full details yet on whether this is actually happening or if it's just a visual to set up something else. So next we jump over to Yuji finally meeting Higuruma, who is casually taking a bath fully clothed, which is kind of weird, but symbolic as well. The really important part here is the exceptional color choices the animators made and shot composition during the conversation. Like I said before, it's these seemingly minor details that make the difference. So as we know, Yuji tracked down Higuruma because he has 100 points, hoping to convince him to use those points to add a rule that prevents players from killing each other. However, even though Higuruma acknowledges the calling game is somewhat unfair, he still refused to do so. Why? Because he's curious to see what happens when a sorcerer is stripped of their curse technique for not participating. To him, this game is a lawless playground where anything can happen, completely free of the flawed trials and legal red tape he always hated. And of course, Yuji isn't really in a position to take no for an answer. Like, their entire strategy relies on adding a rule or two to end this game as quick as possible. And then the episode ends with a massive cliffhanger, with Higuruma activating his domain expansion, setting up the next episode to likely focus entirely on Higuruma vs Yuji and how Yuji is planning to handle this. Yeah, so overall, another banger of an episode this week. We didn't get to the fights just yet, of course, but as always, the animation and the visual experience was the absolute highlight of this episode, just like the previous ones, which leaves absolutely no room for criticism. Anyways, that brings us to the end of this video. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, And I will catch you guys another time in another video, and peace.